Welcome back to CBS News 24/7, everybody. Glad to have you here. I'm Reed Cowan. So CBS cameras fired up in all of the important rooms where Senate confirmation hearings are happening at this very moment for some pretty key posts in President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks. Witnesses for Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee earlier today. Other Trump picks on Capitol Hill right now: Doug Burgum for Secretary of the Interior, Lee Zeldin for EPA Administrator, Eric Scott Turner for Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent. Now, here are just some of those moments from inside those Senate chambers.
If we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people.
Right now, as far as we know, applies only to the president. And so there's no immunity for Attorney General Bondi if she were to engage in illegal activity or unconstitutional activity in carrying out a directive of Donald Trump. But I think before we even get to that, it would be important for her to make clear that she is not going to direct her department attorneys or the FBI to initiate unfounded investigations.
When energy production is restricted in America, it doesn't reduce demand. It just shifts productions to countries like Russia and Iran, whose autocratic leaders not only don't care at all about the environment, but they use their revenues from energy sales to fund wars against us and our allies. President Trump's energy dominance vision will end those wars abroad.
So just some headlines and some highlights there from those hearings. Let's go live to Capitol Hill and CBS News political reporter Taurean Small. Taurean, AG nominee Pam Bondi will not say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. What is the readout there on Capitol Hill to that newsmaking item and also some of the other things that are bubbling up here in these confirmation hearings?
Yeah, Reed, it is quite troublesome for Democrats, but it seems to be largely inconsequential to where the votes may land. Some of Bondi's toughest critics, including ranking member Dick Durbin, came out of that hearing yesterday saying that they thought that she held her own throughout that very intense grilling on that, but also on other controversial topics like whether or not she would take the directive of Donald Trump and go after some of his political rivals. To that point, I do want to mention that Bondi said that she is not looking or interested in seeking retribution on behalf of the Republican Party or the incoming president, saying there will be no enemy list in the Department of Justice under her leadership. But I want to circle back to Dick Durbin because I think what he said today is quite instructive. We caught up with him and he said, when asked about Bondi, quote, he thought she was outstandingly impressive, and he said he wouldn't hesitate to hire her to represent his own. So it sounds like there, Reed, that the top Democrat believes that she has a chance and the numbers just might be in her favor.
That will certainly add some influence there as to voting. All right, so also happening today, House Speaker Johnson expected to announce Congressman Mike Turner's replacement for the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And really, to frame this in time, it comes one day after the House voted him out of that position due to, quote, concerns from Mar-a-Lago. Our very own Scott McFarland caught this moment that we want to show our viewers with him just a moment ago. Let's listen.
That's all it is. It's not a slight in any way to our outgoing chairman, who did a great job under very difficult circumstances. I have nothing but respect for Mike Turner, and not a negative word will ever come from the speaker about that.
Did you feel like he was wasn't critical enough in receiving those agencies?
I gave you my explanation, and that's what it is. So.
That's what it is, but it also sounds like he would very much like to move on. What's the readout there?
So our Margaret Brennan talked to the outgoing Intel chair, Mike Turner, yesterday, and he told her that he was being removed or fired by Johnson because of influence from Mar-a-Lago. So there appears to be a disconnect there. Speaker Johnson, as you just heard right there, seems to be moving the president away from them, keeping him blameless in this, saying that this is now a time for a reset or a refresh of not just the committee, but the Intel community at large. He's saying that Mar-a-Lago Mar-a-Lago didn't have an influence, even though Turner believes that clearly is the case for why he was removed. I will say, though, Democrats are quite unsettled by this development and the influence by Trump. This is what Adam Schiff, who was the former Intel chair when House held the majority in the House, but now he's a senator. This is what he said about it.
I'm just going on what Mr. Turner said about the decision essentially coming out of Mar-a-Lago. But it's clear that Trump is calling the shots in the House of Representatives. There was a time when some Republicans speculated about whether Trump should be or could be Speaker. Apparently, he is playing part of that role already.
So Turner is moving on from this. He said in a statement that he's now going to focus his efforts on the House Armed Services and Oversight Committee. So no longer thinking about Intel.
All right, so turning another page, moments from now, Attorney General Merrick Garland will deliver his final farewell address to the Justice Department. Do we have an idea of what he plans to say during that speech?
Well, Reed, I would expect him to kind of mirror or parrot a lot of things that President Biden said in his farewell address, talking about the dangers of weaponization of government. But he'll also have to combat this wave of this incoming administration who painted the department under his leadership as this partisan, biased organization and entity. He's probably going to speak to the fact that he's worked to be as bipartisan or nonpartisan as he possibly can and point out the work that he's done. He was also the lead person over prosecutions when it came to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. So it's likely we could also expect to hear him mention that as well.
Taurean Small, thank you so much. CBS News political reporter, always keeping us informed. Have a great day.